Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandvidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Govigaganta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishavano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivajadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare A reading from Jaiva Dharma, chapter 9. Nitya Dharma, material science and civilization. So, Lahiri Mashai speaking with Babaji Mahashai and so Lahiri Mahashai he was given a name by Premdas Babaji because he was from Santipur, so he gave him the name Advaita Das. So this Lahiri Mahashai, he had accepted the disciple of Paramahamsa Babaji as his guru, so to say. But then Param Guru Dev, so he gave him the name. So I was doing his bhajan in Godrum Drift, in his kutir. One of his childhood friends came to see him. So he was also scholarly, and he was a worshipper of Durga Devi. And so they had a conversation. So they met after a long time, and so they were both overjoyed to meet each other. So Digambar was also a scholarly person, and so he had composed one song which he sang in the worship or glorification of Mother Kali, Durga Devi. Of course, so his understanding was that Durga Devi is supreme and everything is emanating from her. Even that Krishna appeared, or that she's appearing as Krishna, and even as Mahaprabhu. So Advaita Das, so he had heard the song, and he offered a seat to Digambar. And so he was mentioning, my dear brother, so it has been a long time since we met. So Digambar sat on the seat, expressing his affection with tears, as he said, my brother Kalidas, where shall I go? Now you have become a renunciant and you don't care for the devas or for your religious duties. I came from Punjab, filled with so much hope, but our friends have all gone. Pesha, Pagla, Kenda, Girish, Ishe Pagla, Dhanuv, Kele the carpenter, and Kanti Bhattacharya have all passed away. Now only you and I remain. I thought I could sometimes cross the Ganges and meet you at Shantipur and come and could sometimes cross the Ganges and visit me and meet you at Shantipur, and you could sometimes cross the Ganges and visit me in Ambika. We could have spent whatever time remains to us singing together and studying the Tantra Shastras. Alas, fate has dealt me a cruel blow. We have become a worthless heap of cow dung and of no use in this life or the next. Tell me, how has this happened to you? So that was not a very thoughtful gesture of Digambar after meeting his childhood friend to speak in such a way. And so therefore Advaita Das could see that, so that is expressed here. Advaita Das could see that his boyhood friend was most undesirable company, and he began to devise a way of escaping from his clutches. Thinking like that, he said, Brother Digambar, do you remember that day in Ambika when we were playing Guli Danda and we reached the old tamarind tree? Digambar, yes, I remember very clearly. It was the tamarind tree just next to Gadadhar Pandit's house. Gonitai used to sit underneath that tree. Yes, Advaita said. Yes, brother. As we were playing, you said, don't touch this tamarind tree. Aunt Sachi-san used to sit here, and if we touch this tree, we shall become renunciants. Digambar, fine, you remember it well. I noticed that you had some leaning towards the Vaishnavas, and I said, you will fall into Gauranga's trap. So they didn't have the proper understanding of the position of Mahaprabhu. Advaita, brother, that has been my nature. At that time I was only on the verge of falling into the trap, but now I have actually fallen in. Digambar, take my hand and come out. It is not good to remain in a trap. Advaita, brother, I am very happy in this trap. I pray to remain here forever. Just touch this tree once and see for yourself. Digambar, I have seen everything. It seems like happiness in the beginning, but in the end you will see that it is just deception. Advaita, and what about the trap that you are in? Do you expect to obtain great happiness in the end? Don't delude yourself. Digambar, look, we are the attendants of the goddess Mahavidya, Durga. We enjoy happiness now, and we will also enjoy it in the hereafter. You think that you are happy now, but I don't see that you are happy at all. Furthermore, there will be no limit to your suffering in the end. I cannot understand why anyone becomes a Vaishnav. You see, we enjoy eating meat and fish, we are all well dressed, and we are more civilized than you Vaishnavas. We enjoy all the happiness the material science affords, whereas you are deprived of all these things, and ultimately will not even gain deliverance. So even at Mahaprabhu's time, so the material energy was very much present. Of course, material energy is always present in material world. So even the Lord is present, material energy is there, but it cannot affect, of course, the Lord, and it cannot affect the pure devotees of the Lord. So, and in this world, so the pure Vaishnavas are rare. Persons with a proper understanding of God consciousness are rare. So even Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sasheshu kashtit yatiti siddhiya yatadam abhisidanam kashtimam veti tattvadaha. So among many persons, it's only few. They may endeavor for spiritual perfection. Of those who are endeavoring, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. And Bhavanam Janmanam Ante Jnanamam Pabadete Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samatma Sodolavaha. After many births of practicing a religious life or spiritual life, one may understand and realize that Krishna is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Sudurlabha. Durlabha means rare and Sudurlabha is very rare. So this Diggambariya, some understanding of the scriptures, but very basic and in the mode of passion and ignorance. Worshipping Durga Devi, at the same time completely absorbed in material life and actually eating meat, which is sinful, and fish. So if one is eating meat, then there's no question of spiritual life. So in spiritual life, non-violence is there, and especially killing animals, or anyone, of course. Harming others, that is understood to be sinful. But it is seen that even nowadays, so many persons who are proclaiming to be spiritualists or worshipper of the different gods, but they are accustomed to eat meat or fish. So for a genuine Vaishnava, that is completely unacceptable. So, ordinary persons, as explained by Bhagavad Gita, so they just have the opposite conception of this material existence. And they are actually in darkness. But they think they are in light. And they think that the Vaishnavas, they are in darkness. So just the opposite understanding. Misunderstanding is there. So those who worship the Supreme Lord Krishna or Vishnu, they are in light. And others who do not worship the Lord, Supreme Lord, but rather the demigods, and especially if they are eating meat, then it is understood that they are in darkness, darkest regions of darkness. Advaita. So why, brother, why do you claim that there will be no deliverance for me in the end? Dingava, no one, even Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, or Lord Shiva, can ever obtain salvation if they are indifferent to Mother Nistarini. Mother Nistarini, she who grants deliverance, is the primordial power. She manifests Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, and after that she maintains them by her active potency, Karya Shakti. When that mother desires, everything re-enters her womb, which is the vessel that contains the entire universe. Have you ever worshipped the mother to invoke her mercy? Advaita. Is Mother Nistarini a conscious entity or inert matter? Digambar, she is consciousness personified and she possesses independent will. It is by her desire alone that spirit is created. Advaita, what is Purusha and what is Prakriti? Digambar, Vaishnavas engage only in bhajan. They have no knowledge of fundamental philosophical truth. Although Purusha and Prakriti manifest as two phenomena, they are actually one, like the two halves of a chickpea. If you take the outer skin of the chickpea, there are two halves. But if the outer skin remains, there is one chickpea. Purusha is conscious and Prakriti is inert. When the conscious and the inert merge into one undifferentiated substance, it is known as Brahma. Advaita, is your mother Prakriti female or Purush male? Digambar, sometimes she is male and sometimes she is female. Advaita, so if Purush and Prakriti are like the two halves of a chickpea covered by skin, which is the mother and which is the father? Digambar, are you making philosophical inquiries? Excellent. We are well acquainted with the truth. The fact is that the mother is Prakriti, matter, and the father is Chaitanya, consciousness. Advaita, and who are you? Digambar, Pasya Bhado, Bhavejiva, Pasya Mukta Sarashiva. One is bound by the ropes of Maya, one is a Jiva, and when one is released from those bonds, one is Lord Sadashiv. So just some mental speculation or incomplete knowledge, distorted knowledge. So by this Digambar. And there are so many persons who have so many different kinds of philosophies and understandings. Even amongst those who are following the Vedic literatures, what to speak of others who are just, of course they may be Christians or Muslims and they may have some understanding, but also very much incomplete. And the various Vedic literatures are there, and so they give knowledge in regards to absolute truth. So specifically also the Puranas are there. So for those in the mode of passion and ignorance, the Rajasic and Tamasic Puranas are there. They're actually ultimately transcendental, but they are dealing with the persons in the mode of passion and ignorance. And for their benefit, so these Puranas are giving some understanding, some instructions, so they may gradually be elevated. Advaita, so you are spirit or matter? Digamba, I am spirit and mother is matter. When I am bound, she is mother. When I become liberated, she will be my wife. So, of course, that is not even to be found in the Puranas, this understanding. So that is a concoction here. So, the Vaishnavas are merciful and they may try to help. But many times it is not possible to help this kind of persons who have these misunderstandings and who are proud of their knowledge. Advaita, oh splendid. Now the whole truth is exposed without any doubt. The person who is your mother now will become your wife later. Where do you get such a philosophy? Digambar, brother, I am not like you simply wandering here and there saying Vaishnava, Vaishnava. I have acquired this knowledge by associating with innumerable perfected and liberated sannyasis, brahmacharis and tantrikas, and by studying the Tantra Shastra day and night. If you wish, I can also make you fit for understanding this knowledge. Advaita Das thought to himself, what a ghastly misfortune. But aloud he said, very well, please explain one idea to me. What is civilization, what is material science? Prakrita Vigyan. Digamba, civilization means to speak courteously in a cultured society, to dress oneself in a respectable and pleasing manner, and to eat and to conduct oneself in a way that is not repugnant to others. You do none of these things. Advaita, why do you say that? So this Digambari was very impolite and very much in illusion and having great misunderstandings of the absolute truth. Although sometimes quoting from scriptures, but or something, but ultimately his understanding is not to be found in the Vedic literatures. Incorrect understanding. You're distinctly unsociable, for you do not mingle with others. The Vaishnavas have never learned what it means to please others with sweet words. So here is criticizing the Vaishnavas who do not understand how to please others with sweet words. So, but that is actually exactly what he is doing. He's speaking words which are harsh. And so he has not learned what it means to please others with sweet words. So that is so unfortunate situation here, as Advaita understood, and which can be seen in this world also. Spiritually inclined persons are there, but those who are under proper guidance are more rare. Those who are highly learned in the scriptures and realized are rare. So here he's continuing, as soon as they lay eyes on anyone, they command him to chant Harinam. Why is there no other civilized discussion? Anyone who sees your dress will not be inclined to let you sit in an assembly. You wear a loincloth, a peculiar tuft of hair on the top of your head, and a garland of beads around your neck. What kind of an outfit is this? And you eat only potatoes and roots. You are not at all civilized. So Advaita was actually quite polite. He understood the position of this person, but still, he did not want to be harsh, because he was his friend from childhood. So, but then, as the conversation continued, so he understood that actually there's no use of that conversation, and that this Digamba will not change. So Advaita Das determined that if he were to start a quarrel and Digamba went away angered, it would be a great relief. So he said, does your type of civilized living give you the opportunity to attain a higher destination in the next life? Digambar. Culture does not in itself grant one a higher destination in the next life. But how can society be elevated without culture? If society is elevated, then one can endeavor for progress in other planets. Advaita, brother, I may say something if you will not become angry. Digambar, you are my childhood friend. I would give up my life for you. How can I not tolerate whatever you have to say? I am fond of courtesy. Even if I become angry, my words remain sweet. The more a man can conceal his inner feelings, the more cultured he is considered to be. So some slight understanding he had of a cultured person, but because of his no clear understanding of the absolute truth, because of his being under the modes of material nature, so he many times so said some things which are not proper. Advaita, human life is very short and there are many disturbances. In this brief span of life, the only duty of humanity is to worship Sri Hari with simplicity. Studying the ways of material civilization, culture, simply deceiving the soul. I've understood that the word sabhyata, civilization, is simply another name for civil deception. So that is a valid point. So if Krishna is not in the center, then there is not. So then the civilization is not true civilization. So as he mentions here, so civil deception. It is a kind of deception if Krishna is not in the center. It is illusion. A human being remains simple as long as he adheres to the path of truth. When he adopts the path of dishonesty, he desires to appear civilized and to please others by his sweet words. But internally he remains addicted to deception and wicked deeds. What you described as civilization has no good qualities, because truthfulness and simplicity are really the only good qualities. So one has to be truthful and one has to be simple. So these are good qualities. These are the qualities of a Vaishnava, of a spiritually inclined person with Krishna in the center, with God in the center. But materialistic persons, they will not understand. For example, humility, that is a spiritual quality. But materialistic people, they think those who are humble, they are weak. Or those who are tolerant, they are weak. So that is a misconception. In modern times, civilization has come to mean keeping one's depravity concealed within. The word sabhyata literally means fitness to participate in a sabha, or a virtuous assembly. In reality, Civilization that is free from sin and deception is only found among Vaishnavas. Non-Vaishnavas very much appreciate civilization that is saturated with sin. This civilization that you speak of is not related to the nitya dharma of the jiva. So that is so-called civilization by materialistic person, modern person, so-called modern person. They are not Vaishnavas. And in this Digambar, so he was worshipping Durga, but at the same time he was eating meat, but he was thinking himself to be civilized, cultured. If civilization means to adorn oneself in stylish clothes to appeal to others, then prostitutes are more civilized than you are. The only requirement for clothing is that it should cover the body and be clean and free from unpleasant odor. Food is faultless when it is pure and nutritious, but you only care whether it tastes good. You don't even consider whether it is pure or not. Wine and meat are naturally impure, and a civilization based upon the consumption of such things is simply a society dedicated to sin. What passes as civilization at present is the culture of Kali Yuga. Digambar. Have you forgotten the civilization of the Muslim emperors? Just consider the manners with which people sit in the court of a Muslim emperor. How politely they speak and with such proper etiquette. Advaita, that is only worldly conduct. How deficient is a man really if he does not abide by these external formalities? Brother, you have served the Muslim government for so long that you have become partial to that type of civilization. In reality, human life only becomes civilized when it is sinless. The so-called advancement of civilization in Kali Yuga simply means an increase in sinful activity. This is nothing but hypocrisy. So, this Advaita Dasa, he was very actually kind, and although this Digambar was not a good association, but because he was his childhood friend, so he spent time with him. And he tried to make him understand that, so his understanding is not the correct understanding of the absolute truth. Any questions? Yes.
What is simplicity?
Simplicity, sarvata. Simplicity means to be straightforward in one's thinking, one's speaking, and one acting. The sarlata, simplicity, and kapat. So duplicity, simplicity and duplicity. Duplicity, that is just the opposite, and that is not desirable. Simplicity, being simple, being open, being straightforward, but at the same time, so being actually very considerate of others and trying to deal nicely with others in a simple and straightforward way. So that is simplicity. So the opposite is duplicity. So one will not speak to another person what he's thinking. And so he may externally behave nicely and speak nicely, but internally his mood is completely different. Internally offensive, angry in nature, impatient. So these are some of the symptoms of duplicity, so which have to be given up. So those who are in the mood of goodness, goodness means light, goodness means knowledge, so they will be able to act properly in a simple way. But so with Krishna in the center, with Mahaprabhu in the center, God in the center. So, but duplicitous, usually duplicitous persons, they are not worshipping God. Of course, sometimes neophyte devotees may be there, doing some worship of the Lord, but they are not simple. And they may engage order in the service of the Lord, but then expecting something in return, materialistic. So, a simple person, he speaks the truth, he is straightforward. What is in his heart that he will speak? What is in his mind that he will speak? So whereas, so the duplicitous person, so of course ultimately his mind will not be pure. But sometimes it is also seen. So some persons, they even in the form of Vaishnav, they may be there and externally chanting, studying, even worshipping the Lord, but the consciousness is not proper. So they are arrogant, they become angry, greedy, impatient. So we should know some of these qualities, and then we can be in the mode of goodness, and then we can try to understand the spiritual master, who will help one also. So we have to endeavor to be properly situated, to be simple, compassionate. So a devotee is compassionate, is helpful. So that is a Vaishnav. So he's conducting himself properly. Those who are Avaishnav, they are not able to conduct themselves completely properly. So Vaishnava is truthful and sinful, truthful and simple. So these are some of the qualities of Vaishnava. So, but simple is an important quality. He may have many responsibilities, a Vaishnav, but if he's advanced, then he will be also very simple. So that is an important quality to be sinful, to be simple. So we should try to be simple. Any more questions?
How to develop that simplicity without that?
How to develop simplicity? Well, we should try externally, because the mind is very difficult to control. Or to purify the mind, the consciousness, it will take some time. But then at least externally, by speaking in a simple, straightforward way, by acting in the simple, straightforward way, so we can get the mercy of the Lord. And He will connect us to a true Vaishnava. A true Vaishnava is automatically simple. So, but it will take some time for the consciousness to be properly situated. So we endeavor, but then we have to be patient, because immediately it is not possible. To be endowed with these wonderful qualities of a Vaishnava. So patience is required. And then ultimately we'll be successful. So in speaking and acting we should try to be simple, although the mind may not be so simple yet. But then we have to neglect the mind. And we have to make our mind our friend. Then we can benefit actually. And make advancement in spiritual life. So, enthusiasm is important, to be always enthusiastic despite all difficulties, especially also from one's own body and mind. So, but we have to try. Be fixed in the understanding, proper understanding, given by Mahaprabhu through the 6 Goswamis, through the Acharyas. So the Acharyas have explained Vaishnav behavior, Nishkapat Bhav and Sarulata, without duplicity, simple. So that we should remember. And practice, and then the consciousness becomes purified, and then the inside and the outside will be the same. But many times in conditioned life, so it is not the same. But we try to be properly situated and ultimately, so try to enter Brajadham. And so by the mercy of the six Goswamis and the spiritual masters it is possible. But we have to endeavor enthusiastically, being fixed in the understanding what is the essence of all advice, so that we have to know. And then we can progress slowly but surely. So simplicity is very much required. And humility, tolerance, and being respectful to others, not expecting respect. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Nitai Gaur Radhisha. अच्छा सब ये अभी सब पब्लिक है और क्या?